What's up, guys? This is Kephas. Welcome back to WoW Classic Leveling, everybody. We are still in Wetlands, making our way up the western coast. Unfortunately, there are some low levels here that don't give me any experience, but we're actually working up towards these boats up here. We're going to be taking on some ghosts. Pretty easy kill quest. Thought it'd be good to kind of grind some experience. Hopefully I don't get too overwhelmed by the enemies, of course, and then we will keep going. But last couple of episodes, we've been talking about just different aspects of being visually impaired, of course, because I am visually impaired, and it's been a lot of fun. People often ask different questions, and I thought we would continue on answering some of those questions today. And so, like, one of the things I get asked pretty often is, like, just generally day-to-day stuff, like, how do I function, how do I do things, you know, all kinds of different things like that. So, like, one of the things about how I do things, like, so whenever I'm always very apprehensive when it comes to doing new things. That's all one of my struggles in life, I guess. Like, if one of the flaws of me, I guess, is that I tend to be very apprehensive about just like doing things, like doing new things. That's probably one of the things that, like, makes it harder for me to, you know, get a job, is myself getting in my own way, kind of thing. And that's because, like, I have a very specific way of learning. Like, I don't like to just go in and do things under the gun. I mean, I have before, and oftentimes when it comes to, like, me doing anything new, is I always say, like, it's usually a train wreck followed by calm seas. Like, you know, like, at first I'm a nervous wreck. I'm like, oh my god, I'll usually mess up something, and then after that, like, once I have a hang of things, I'm good to go. Like, and that, like, even, like, down to, like, doing a dungeon for the first time in WoW. Like, I'm always very nervous. Like, the first time I ever tanked, I was a nervous wreck. I liked grouping with people that I knew because they understood me, you know what I mean? And so, like, I could kind of, like, do things at a certain pace. I didn't feel too pressured, you know, so, like, that's just kind of how I am. So, like, when I learn new things, the way I like to learn, the best way that I learn, I don't learn well by being told, you know, or even, like, having someone show me. I learn well by doing it myself and having someone kind of, like, be there to guide me. That's usually how I learn. So, like, when I first, you know, like, just learning anything new, like, that's kind of how it's done, you know what I mean? Like, so like, cooking, for example. Like, when I first moved out, I did not know how to cook anything at all. So I started off, like, my uncle taught me how to use a crock pot, right? And so I made a lot of roasts and, you know, and a lot of chicken inside of a crock pot, you know, just like, you know, steamed cooked chicken, that kind of thing. And so, like, I always thought, you know, I'll never fry. Like, I don't think I could ever fry anything, you know what I mean? So, but then, like, I met my wife, and, you know, we got married, and we're together now, and so she's like, you know, I think you could learn to fry. I don't think it's as bad as you think it is. I think you could do it. And so, like, you know, she taught me how to make hamburgers. And so now, whenever we make hamburgers, a lot of times I will make the burgers. Toast your buns. That's key. You always want to toast your buns. First things first. Okay? And then beyond that, you know, I learned. Like, she was there. She taught me. She had me do it with her there. And now I could do it anytime I want. And I'm like, all this time, this thing I always, like, I never thought I'd ever be able to do, I do. And I can do it easily by myself. No big deal. You know, and so that's kind of, like, I do that a lot. Like, I discover things, you know, a lot of times, like, when it comes to, like, how I function, I sometimes, like, I'm guilty of putting limitations on myself. Like, I don't know if I could do that. And then, sure enough, it's not that big a deal. Like, I can totally do this thing. You know what I mean? There are things that I can't do. You know, there are plenty of things that I just genuinely cannot do. But, you know, a lot of times it's just a matter of learning and trying and seeing how it goes. You know, and oftentimes I'm surprised. You know, so, like, that's kind of, like, you know, with cooking, it just, you know, like, as long as it's not too intense, like, I mean, cooking things slowly, you know, like, that's kind of how it's done. I mean, I learned how to, like, sew buttons on, you know, like, and so, like, you know, how do you get a thread through a needle's eye? Well, you know, I have a threader, right? You know what I mean? Like, so, like, there are always, like, different things that you can learn how to do things. Like, you know, like, when do you clean your house? Like, that's one of the things, like, you know, like, when do you clean? Like, so, like, how do you know that your house needs clean? Well, the way I would do things is I would clean on a schedule, right? So, like, instead of just waiting for, oh man, this house is getting messy, like a lot of people might do, I would clean on a schedule. So, like, every week I vacuum. I clean the bathroom. I clean sometimes more than once a week. I wipe down the counters in the kitchen like every couple of days. You know, like I just have a system. You know, like whether it needs cleaned or not, chances are in a week some things are going to really need cleaned. So I would like, you know, I would dust, I would vacuum, you know, like that kind of stuff. And whether it needs it or not, at least that way you're keeping on top of it, you know. So that's kind of how I do things. And also like just I like having a not a strict schedule, but a semi-strict, you know, schedule, because that way I can kind of keep things, you know, in order a little bit. I function better that way. I don't function very well when like the house is cluttered. This is something that like some people might think, oh man, you're awful, you know, anal about certain things. Like maybe you have ADD. It's like, you know, like I keep everything in its place. That's a very important thing for me. And it's not because like I'm obsessive or whatever, or I have like a condition. It's because that's how I keep track of things. If things are not where they're supposed to be or where I keep them, then I have to find them, and that's always a problem, and that can get very frustrating. Like, you know, I have a key ring, a key holder, that's where my keys go. I put my wallet in the same place. I put my phone in the same general place, and everything has its place, and that's how I'm able to kind of, you know, keep track of everything. So like that's an example of like how I function. So like and there are like little things like, you know, like learning to do laundry. Like at first that was intimidating, mostly because of the machine. And again, like kind of after doing it, it's like it's not a big deal at all. It's pretty easy. And like once you learn one, you kind of learn them all. You know, same with an oven, same with all kinds of different machinery like that. Crap, we have a problem now. We don't want to. We're gonna fear him up here, and then we're gonna summon our demon back. Okay, that didn't work. So hopefully we'll get this pet back out here. But you know, like there are just different things like that that you just kind of, oh wait, you know, we can just kill him. Screw this. There we go. you just kind of learn things as you go. Like that's kind of like the system. There are so many things I could go over in terms of like, you know, how I do things. Like you know, I'd say the biggest hurdle for me is oftentimes like reading small print things. Because like even if I have like a magnifier, like a lot of times I use my phone as a magnifier. Even with that, like some things are just really difficult to read. So like luckily, like a lot of times I can find things online, and that kind of helps, or look things up on, you know, just on my phone. That can be very helpful as well. Nowadays I have Alexa, so like that makes it easy to do certain things or ask questions real quick. You know, like little things like that. Like smart devices are very nice, even though like I have a little bit of like some things. Smart devices kind of creep me out a little bit, to be honest, but they're still very convenient in what they can allow me to do. So like just, you know, different technology, different things like that. Finding, again, like it goes down back to like finding my own system to do things. You know, like, but like generally speaking, like I just have to try things. I had to take things slow, one step at a time, and eventually like I get a system. Like going to the grocery store, for example. Like for the longest time, I felt like I had to have someone. You know, I had to have a ride. Like, someone has to go with me, because how am I going to transport all these groceries, you know, home? Eventually, I found like a cart, like almost like a little, like it can hold like a certain amount of weight, and it's like a mini cart. And so like I bought one, and then I would just like walk that over to the grocery store, and like that was how I would go. I'd just fill that up, get my groceries, fill that up, and take them home. Now it wasn't the best. Fortunately now, like I have a wife. And so, like, she does most of the grocery shopping, so that is a lot more efficient. It's a lot easier. But also now they have like where like in my grocery store, you can order the groceries and they'll gather them up for you, and you can have them. Even like there's even like DoorDash now will like deliver your groceries for you. Like in some places, like you can get like stuff from Walgreens. It's kind of crazy. I'm like, where the crap was this stuff? Like, where was Uber and all this stuff before I got married, when I needed that kind of stuff? You know, it wasn't around for the longest time. So like things have gotten a lot easier as new services and new forms of technology has enabled new things. So that's definitely one really good thing. So like just on the day-to-day, like I can pretty much do everything that anybody else can do. I just might do it in a slightly different way. And you know, so that's kind of how that works. But when we get into like you know, transportation, you know, that kind of stuff, that's where things get a little bit more difficult. You know, it just depends. Like just getting around places is kind of hard. Like for example, like going to the gym. Like I love working out. That's something that I used to do a lot more, but you know, it's kind of difficult right now because of, you know, just between my wife's schedule and just trying to find a gym that I can get to is a little bit challenging. But I used to love going to the gym. You know, when it comes to like that kind of stuff, like working out is something that I always like doing. You know, whenever I go to a new gym, for example, like I always just walk around first. I get acquainted where everything is. I've been doing it long enough now that I kind of know how to use the machines. There are some things that I prefer doing with other people there. Like, obviously, you know, if you're going to do bench press or lift, like, that kind of stuff, you want to have someone else around. But, like, you know, there are still times where I do prefer having someone to work out with, because obviously that makes things easier. The biggest problem in a gym, depending on the size of the gym, is, like, running into people. That's something that always, you know, gets frustrating for me, because, like, I don't want to, like, obviously I don't want to, like, knock anybody over, and, you know, I don't want to come across like I'm rude. So, like, I always feel bad if I'm in a smaller gym, you know, and there's, like, heavy weights around. I'm always very careful to, like, try not to hit anybody, you know what I mean? So, like, that's something that I try to be careful of the best I can. So now we gotta deal with these guys. Hang on a second, let's fear this one. Like this, kind of like this place. See how cramped this place is? My goodness. This could be a very big problem. This is what I was worried about. Okay, so I'm gonna try to run. My pet might die. Can I get through this window? Yes, I can. We're gonna go through. There's a little crevice we can get through in there. Down there, we can kind of sneak through. So we'll do that. But first, we need to run away. We need to get the heck away. Yeah, so, like, you know, for example, when you go inside of a boat full of ghost people and it's really cramped, you might run into more people than you mean to, and then you almost die. And that's not what you want to do. So it's kind of like that at the gym. I don't want to die. I don't want to get anybody killed. So I'm always very careful, you know. That's something else that I do a lot. Like, just in general, I'm very careful. I try not to run into people. Every now and then I'll have a situation where there'll be a rude person that'll, like, be in their way, not meaning to, or I'll bump into them and they get kind of huffy about it. And that's just something you just kind of, like, whatever, man. People are people. They're going to be the way they are. But, like, you know, I love working out, like, just slowly learning how to use each of the machines, learning where everything is. That's kind of a thing. Before I would go to the gym, for, like, several years, I took Kung Fu and martial arts. And that's something that I really love doing. Again, honestly, I did that up until I didn't have a means to get to my Kung Fu class. And so I had to kind of step down. But before I did, I actually got to... you know, pretty far, and I was pretty happy about that. I was, like, actually 1 degree below black, and I was getting very close to getting to a black sash. So, like, I was like, dang it, man, I was so close. That would have been kind of cool. But I was still happy to, like, do the training. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Like, it was something I was naturally able to do, like, even with my vision. Like, so, like, with Kung Fu, you know, it's empty-handed martial arts, but also, like, I learned how to use, like, weapons. I was trained with swords. Like, whenever I'd put my sword into the sheath, for example, I would put my hand, like, right up to the sheath, to where the sword would, like, go into the sheath, and, like, to get the sword back into the sheath, rather than trying to, like, stab randomly to get it back in there, I would put the blunt end of the sword up against my thumb, and I would slide it down until, you know, I got to the end of the sword, and that's where I knew I could just put the sword right in the hole, because my finger was right by the hole. And it sounds kind of crazy, like, oh, you can cut your finger, but no, I'm using the blunt end, I'm moving very, very slowly, I'm feeling it, and a lot of times that's how I do things. A lot of times I look with my eyes and my ears. Whenever they say, like, do blind people have heightened senses? Like, no, not really. We just use them more, so we use them better than people who just rely on their eyes. We just learn we're more attuned with our other senses, and that's something that, you know, we do. So, like, in Kung Fu, for example, the fighting style that my Sifu trained me in was more up close, more grabbing, more, you know, like, more styles that involved, like, close up, getting in their face, getting, like, basically, like, trying to eliminate the possibility for myself to get kicked, for myself to get taken down, you know, easily without seeing things coming, you know. So I would use more grappling and more just close range punching. So, like, Wing Chun, for example, I was trained a little bit in that, and not like the weird stuff, but like the actual, like, the art itself, like the punching and kicking aspects of it, you know, not the weird stuff that you see, like, people like, yeah, I'm a Wing Chun master, you know, not that weird stuff, you know, but, like, actual, like, practical martial arts, you know, that would be up close, that kind of stuff, like, just learning that. My cousin is a martial artist, and a little jujitsu, learning a little bit of that. That's something else that really you don't need a lot of eyes, like a lot of vision to do. You can kind of feel things out, and that was something else, you know, like, just learning to feel things out was a kind of a big thing. And, like, Kung Fu is very helpful, not only for, like, physical endurance, not only for, you know, just feeling more confident, you know, if you're ever in a situation where, you know, like, you're visually impaired, so obviously you don't, like, the thought of being attacked is terrifying. Learning martial arts makes you, you know, you feel like, my teacher would tell me all the time, like, for a while, I was like, I don't want to carry a cane around, because I don't really need one, but, like, sometimes you do it as an identifier. But like sometimes like having that identifier can make you out to be a target. And my teacher was like, I don't think you have anything to worry about. I think if someone tries to attack you, they're going to regret that decision immediately. You know, so like, I don't like to take that attitude towards it because obviously, you know, anytime you get into an altercation, it could go badly. You don't like, you're never going to, like, there's always going to be someone that's stronger than you. There's always just the possibility that no matter how good you are, you're going to get beat. You know, so like, obviously, like, fighting is never something that you want to invite into your life. But just having the knowledge and the training made me feel more confident that if I ever did get into an altercation, at least I had a decent chance. Probably more than people who don't have that training, even people who can see who don't have that training, or who, you know, so like just having that training was very helpful, and just in having a better balance. I mean, just having stronger legs and stronger body, just having like more balance, so I don't feel like I'm gonna like trip all the time, because like, you know, there's always the random curb or whatever where I'm gonna trip and fall, like you never know. That would always get kind of scary, you know. So like just having the vision, you know, having the training and the martial arts helped improve that kind of stuff as well. And so like even now where I don't actually go to class anymore, I still practice based on the knowledge that I've learned, and you know, there are always online sources to kind of learn new things as well. So like I love martial arts. I think it's a good thing and it's very empowering. We're all gonna die, we gotta get out of here, but yeah, so like that's just that kind of stuff, you know, just learning things, like learning new things to better myself has always been a good thing. You know, there are a lot of things that you can learn that can help you with your vision, and also just things that like you can do. Oh, thank you, whoever healed me, that was very nice of you. There are things that you can do that you know, that can help you, and just like you might not be able to do some things, but there are other things that you can do. So like martial arts was a big thing for me, because like, you know, I could never do football or baseball or basketball. I mean, maybe a little bit of basketball, actually. I can actually play a little bit of basketball. That's a little bit easier. But, like, you know, a lot of sports aren't really an option for me. But, like, martial arts, dude, totally could do that. That was something I could do, and I loved it, and it just felt very natural. I've always been a martial arts fan. I mean, I grew up watching Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers, so, of course, like, martial arts have always been a big thing for me. I grew up in the 90s when martial arts was, like, the biggest thing ever. Like, Karate Kid, you know, Ninja Turtles, all that kind of stuff. So, like, that was natural. But that's also, like, why I got so big in the video games. Because, like, you know, there are a lot of things I can't do. Like I said, I admit that I come to terms with, like, yeah, you know, maybe I'm not going to be a kid. I'm not going to be on a high school football team. That's probably not going to happen. You know what I mean? But at the very least, there are other things I can do, like video games. And so, like, that's kind of become one of the big things that I do. I mean, some video games are hard to play with my vision. And then, you know, some are not so bad. Like, it just depends on the game. So, you know, that's just, you know, it just depends on, like, just finding things that fit you, your interests, you know, and just getting into things that you're like, yeah, this is totally something that I'm able to participate in. So, like, you know, like, just like learning how to shoot a gun, for example. I did a Legally Blind on that one. Like, that seems crazy. How's a blind person ever going to learn how to use a gun? It's actually not that hard. I mean, when you have the ability to see, for the most part, see enough, I mean, you can actually, you know, learn and feel comfortable and take things slow. I mean, it's just a matter of taking things slowly, learning slowly. Just like, you know, whenever I move into a new area, you know, I get on Google Maps, I look around, I see where things are, and I kind of follow that. At first, that was very scary. Like, when I first moved out, I didn't know how to do anything. You know what I mean? Like, anything at all. I was like, okay, here we go. We got to learn how to do all this stuff. And it took me a while. It took me, like, the first year to get comfortable with basic things. And then it took me, like, a few years after that to get comfortable with just being on my own and being confident, that kind of stuff, you know? So, like, there's a lot to that aspect of being visually impaired. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, like, people might be nervous or scared. Like, the world is very, very, honestly, in my opinion, the world is too fast-paced. Everything is very fast now. And, you know, I move at a slower pace. That's just how I am. I feel more comfortable that way. You know, I move at a slightly slower pace than how the rest of the world might move. But, you know, I get by, and it works out for the most part. You know what I mean? So, like, one of the questions I get asked a lot of times, you know, kind of talking about this day-to-day thing, like, you know, how do I cope? You know what I mean? Like, emotionally, you know, just different aspects of that. Like, is it hard to live? Is it hard to, you know, like, how does it affect you emotionally? So, excuse me, goodness, been talking so much. So when it comes to like emotional, psychological stuff in terms of the vision, like, does it affect me? I mean, you know, there are times where, I mean, I think everybody goes through, you know, hard times. I've never been a person that's had super hard mental issues, or psychological issues, depression and that kind of thing. Thank goodness. I sympathize greatly with people who do have that kind of stuff. And there are a lot of people who are visually impaired who deal with those kinds of things. I'm not really one of them. I have had my moments, for sure. I mean, when I was, for example, when I was 16, everybody was learning how to drive, right? And I wasn't. And I went through a little period where I was very sad about that. I mean, it was very hard to deal with, you know what I mean? And it was just like, that was... Man, there are just certain things I'm not going to get to do. There are certain aspects in life. Life's going to be hard in a lot of ways where it isn't hard for most people. And I want to be kind of out there, kind of like that. That's something, having a hard time because I can't drive, having a hard time getting out. Sometimes that would lead to, some periods of loneliness. I would be excluded from certain things because... And I don't mean like people would exclude me, although I'm sure that has happened. Also, ding, level 30, yo. Dang, it's crazy. Get the Strongbox key from... Oh, we gotta go back to one of those. I hate when it does that. Like, you get a quest, you go kill things, and then it has you go right back there to do another quest. Like, give me both quests at the same time, you jerk. We'll try to go back up there. Also, there's another quest down there. Anyway, so, like, there are times, like, yeah, the vision has led to different, mental struggles. And so, like, the question is, how do you cope? How do you deal with that? Well, like, I have to be, when I'm asked this question, I have to be honest. I have to just tell you guys the truth about it. And I'm not trying to, like, get all spiritual or anything like that. But the truth be told, like, my faith in God is a lot of how I cope. My faith, like, my beliefs, I am a Christian. I'm not going to preach to you all, even though I have a license and I'm a licensed minister. I'm not going to preach here. But I will say that a big part of how I cope is my spirituality. And my belief and just everything. I've gone through a lot in life. Like, beyond, like, honestly, and not to, like, sound like a victim or anything or cry to you guys. The vision and, like, my vision has been one of the least of my worries in many times in my life. I've had so many other things that I've had to go through, but again, I feel like a lot of people go through things, right? So, I've been through a lot in life. And so, like, a lot of times, like, when I look at my life and I look at how my life has gone and how things have worked out for me and how I've overcome a lot of challenges in life, just like we all have, it reinforces my faith because in those dark times, I would look to God and I would look to Christ and I would find strength, and it always would happen that way. And I would find endurance and the ability to overcome those and endure those hard times and come out on the other side stronger, and so, like, that was that for me. And again, like, I'm not gonna, like, say you get, fall on your knees and accept Jesus. I'm not gonna, like, no, dude, like, everybody has their own beliefs, and that's whatever for you, right? You do what works for you. But for me, that's a big part of it. So, like, for the longest time, for example, like, I went to like a holy roller church, man, like, a straight up, like, God's gonna heal you, that kind of stuff. Like, I did that. I went to that for a very long time. And so, like, for a long time, I believe, like, I believe, like, it's fine. I want to endure this, and one day God's going to heal me, and I'm going to have perfect vision, and whatever. And I went through that for a long time, and obviously, like, I'm still blind to this day. It didn't happen, and not who knows, like, I believe in miracles, right? Miracles happen. It's something, I'm not going to say that it's not possible, but, like, one day I had this thought, like, does it take more faith to believe that I can be healed of this, or does it take more faith to believe that even if I'm blind for my whole life, everything's going to be fine? That life is still going to be great. Life is still going to be amazing. Life is still going to be wonderful. And I can still reach my dreams and still live the life that I want to live, even with this disability. To me, that takes some faith. And it's worked out. Because, like, my life is, I'm very happy. And I've had periods where I didn't think I would ever be where I am, and I'm very happy. And life is still going. I still have goals. I still have dreams, but I'm a happy person, and I've been happy for a very long time. And, I've gone through struggles, and, my faith and my beliefs and my, have given me the strength to overcome. And so when I that's how I cope. That, and just, like, everything that I go through things, and I everything, this, something my grandpa always would tell me, is that, just remember, whenever you're going through hard times, he would say, just remember, this will pass. This too shall pass. And I always tell myself that whenever I would go through something tough, I would say, this too shall pass. And it does. Hard times, the bad times never last. bad people do. You know, tough times don't last, but tough people do. You know, that's something I always like that saying a lot. You know, so like I don't know how tough I am, you know, but I have a strong faith that you know, life is going to be life. There are going to be struggles in the future, maybe some that are way stronger than anything I've ever gone through before, but you know, it's going to work out. You know, and I want to be here to believe in that, and there's always going to be light at the end of the tunnel, because there always has been. You know, and when there isn't, and it's time, then it's time. And you know, I've lived a life that, even as a visually impaired person, I've lived a great life. You know, I mean, even now, like, and you know, I'm hoping I got a long way to go still, and there's many more cool things to experience. But you know, where I am now, like, man, I'm very fortunate. I've got great people in my life. I've got to do really cool things. I've got to play a lot of great video games. You know, I mean, every time, you know, and again, this isn't like to like pat myself on the back or anything like that, but anytime I ever like talk about things, or like some of my videos on YouTube, and I'll get people say, man, that, you know, you've inspired me so much, and you just think you bring some joy into my life or whatever. Like, look, man, that to me is a lot. I mean, that means a lot, because like, I'm just a guy, you know, playing games. Here's my experience. You know, like, I want to be starting this Overwatch series soon, and I say this all the time in the videos, like, look, man, if I can do this, you can. And that's kind of the thing, like, look, man, if I can overcome this, if I can do this, if I can overcome these challenges, then you certainly can. If I can play this video game, then you can. If I can live life, then if I can do it, then anybody can, right? That's kind of the idea. You know, so like, that's kind of how I feel, and like, so whenever people are like, yeah, thank you, that helps, you know, that inspires me, then cool, man, that's cool. And it's not, if people are like, yeah, you're dumb and whatever, but I like your videos, that's fine too. You know, like, so I've gotten to do a lot of cool things in life, man. Like, just, you know, just trying to, you know, just keep going, keep moving forward, having faith and that kind of stuff. That's what gets me through. And just remembering everything that I've been through in the past as well. You know, so like, that's honestly, like, I just, again, being completely honest, like, if I'm asked a question, I want to give my honest answer. And even if some people may not like it, like, it's maybe it sounds cheesy, it's the truth. You know what I mean? So like, just, you take one day at a time. You learn little bits, you learn how to do things, you know what I mean? And yeah, you overcome the challenges. You may not be able to figure everything out, but you take things one step at a time, and you gotta go from there. That's kind of how I do things. So, looking for this, there it is. I was looking for it, and there it was. Hopefully we get this. Okay, good. Cool. That's some experience. Cool, we got that quest. All right, so we got that quest. That wants me to go all the way back to the harbor, and I might, if I'm not careful, I might actually die. Let's see. Okay, we're good now. Yeah, so we're gonna, there you go, guys. That's another one down. I love this. I honestly, like, I really enjoy just talking about this stuff. I think it's fun. Just, like, it's something I never really thought about doing before, but, like, I get asked questions all the time. So, like, again, you know, if you guys have any questions, you know, about, like, just being visually impaired, or just, like, again, like, I always talk about this, like, anything you'd like to see me do on here, you know, any topics you want me to talk about or whatever, like, I'm cool with it. I like it. I think it's fun. Anytime it can generate discussion, I think that's a great thing. But if you have any questions about my vision, if you have any topics you'd like to hear me talk about or whatever, you know, I will totally do that. And also, if you have any, like any areas in this game that you'd like to see me go to, please let me know that as well, because we're in the wetlands. I'm kind of picking around, like, picking at different quests that I can do. But for the most part, you know, we're kind of just doing whatever we can. So either way, guys, I want to talk about more stuff about being visually impaired on the next episode. So I will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button. And feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. Don't forget, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and if you'd like, you can support this channel on Patreon. Links to all of this can be found in the description below. This is Kephas. Until next time.